What's up? Welcome back to my channel. Today I'm also going to do the analysis of a Dawn newspaper editorial dated August 21, 2022. The headline is Veiled Threat. The analysis is easier and done into an easy English translation, English to English translation. But it will be very easy, otherwise the purpose of reading newspaper will not be served if it is translated into another language. So let's start right away without much ado. It is the nature of the beast. There is the colons used, and I will be also discussing about the colons or colons of punctuations. Why is punctuation used? What is the purpose behind the punctuation of this one colon? Is that means the definition of this sentence is coming afterwards, the explanation is coming, why it is the nature of the beast, why those wedded to life of violence will continue to speak the language of violence if it brings them dividends. So those who are associated to or connected to a life of violence will continue to speak the same language of brutality if it brings them payments, if it brings them shares, if it brings them benefits. I've given the meaning, payments and shares. The banned Tehreek-e-Taliban Pakistan, with whom the state has been engaged in stop-start peace negotiations since last year, issued a statement on Thursday warning secular and nationalist groups to desist from labeling allegations against them. Now, this banned Tehreek-e-Taliban, this is the banned outfit, Tehreek-e-Taliban Pakistan, with whom the government has been in a process of stopping and starting the peace negotiations for the last 1 year. They have the TTP has issued a statement on Thursday threatening the secular, materialistic and nationalist groups to avoid from putting some allegations, putting some blames or accusations against them. It declared that these elements are the enemies of Islam and this country. So they have declared these elements as the foes of Islam and country, while claiming it did not want to clash with any religious or political party. But though they did not make any claim that they want to clash with any religious or political party, and without specifically naming any offending group, and they did not name any offending group, any group which has offended them, it advised them not to choose the path of confrontation. It suggested that they should not choose the road line of clash. So more sinisterly, based on the whims and caprice, it further said these parties suffered losses in the past because of their wrong policies. These parties, losses are due to their wrongly managed, wrongly devised policies. So now no reminder is necessary for progressive parties to recall those terrible years, years when the TTP targeted them ruthlessly. Many of their leaders and supporters lost their lives in the attacks. So there is no need, they say, to remind these parties, the progressive, these parties, the secular parties, about the very awful attacks of the awful years when the TDP had attacked mercilessly. Ruthlessly means mercilessly, men in which claiming the lives of their leaders and supporters in the assaults. Among those singled out, okay, let me clarify also this one. I'm taking much time. This is why. Okay, sorry. Okay, let's do this like this. Okay, among those singled out was the Awami National Party, which had challenged the expanding influence in Malakand division of the TTP Sawat chapter led by Mullah Fazlullah. Now, among them there was one party. You see, the Awami National Party, which had given them troubles, which was giving them hard time while they were trying to spread their influence, spread their spread their power in Malakand division of TTP's Swat chapter, which was governed or led or championed by Mullah Fazlullah. Let's go here. I will start from here, so this will be the starting point. I'm doing it, it's not picking it up. Okay, but okay, we start like this. Okay, this is the starting point. The party which at the time ruled the Northwest Frontier Province as KEPI. Now there the dash has been used. That means this the phrase, the information given within two dashes is extra information, and not as much necessary, but if that is removed or omitted, the sentence can stand alone. So as KEPI was then known, was also very vocal in support of the military organization that finally drove out the militants from the area. So at that time the party was very vocal. They were very loud in support of the military operations. This party was loud. They were supporting the military operations that finally they succeeded pushing the militants away from the area. ANP leaders Bashir Bilor, also senior minister in then KEPI government, and his son Harun Bilor, both lost their lives in a few years apart in suicide attacks claimed by the TTP. So ANP leaders Bashir Bilor, who was the senior minister in the government of KPP by then, and his son Harun Bilor, they both lost their lives, you see, in a separate suicide attacks, suicide assaults, which were claimed by TTP later on. In the first half of 2013, the umbrella group, there is a dash also used, by then well entrenched in the tribal areas, dash over, carried out violent attacks against the secular ANP, MQM and PPP and crippled their election campaign in the run-up to the polls that year. So in the first half of 2013, the umbrella group, the associated group, they worked for a bigger group, a bigger organization. By then, well entrenched by that time, that was well deep rooted in the tribal areas. So this is extra information. Carried out violent attacks. Carried out very vicious attacks against these secular progressive ANP, MQM, and PPP, and halted their election campaigns during the election polls that year. The spectrum of brutality the hardline group is capable of had already become evident several years ago, when it held sway in the Swat chapter, turning town squares into sites of public beheadings and banning girls' education. Now here we have some words also. The brutality is given cruelty, and hold sway means hold power. Beheading means cutting of a head. Now let's go for the translation. We start from here. This is the starting point. You see the spectrum of brutality, the range of barbarism, cruelty. This strict group is capable of had become visible several years ago, several years before, when it had power in Swat Valley, and they had turned the town, the circles, the squares, into the offensive, scenes like cutting the heads of people or banning the girls' education, stopping the girls from going to school. The dark era has not been forgotten, and that people still remember these incidents. The protests across KP, including in Swat and Lower Dir, against the apparent return of the fighters of Swat chapter, armed to the teeth. The people have not forgotten the protest against KPK, including across throughout KP, even in Swat and Lower Dir, against the return of these fighters of Swat chapter. They are fully armed to the teeth, fully armed, and threatening as ever. They are also issuing the threats, as just always they're issuing the threats. Evidence that times have changed. Now times have changed. You see, we can see the times have altered, the gone of the times. The people agreed to them or bowed before them. No longer are the people willing to acquiesce in the name of yet another peace treaty with the militants that does nothing to defang the latter but allows them to regroup and crush the populace. Now the words are given: acquiesce means accept reluctantly without protest, and defang means make less harmful or harmless. Okay, so this evident now the times have changed. The people will not accept this without any protest. They will protest against the peace treaty. They do not want the peace treaty which does not make the militant group less harmful. Then and that allows the other that allows them to allows them to stabilize and crush the population, defeat or trouble the population. Some analysts believe that the TTP may have been taken aback by the collective call to resistance, and its statement should be seen in that light. Some analysts, are of the view that the TTP may have been shocked by this response, with this collective response, and its statement should have been seen that should be seen in a broader light and under the spotlight. Nevertheless, however, the response also appears to show that the state's parleys with the militant grouping have sufficiently emboldened it to once again act as judge and jury as to who is anti-state and anti-religion. So parleys is discussions. I've given the word, you see the meaning here. So however, this response shows that the state's discussions with militant groupings have rather made them, bold or the brave once again to act as judge and jury at the same time. Who's against the state or who's against the religion? How long before it once again reverts to its role as executioner? The question is, the writer is ending this editorial with the question that we are waiting for: how long will it take that they again come back as an as executioner, or as ruthless executioner? Thank you. See you next time. Please like the video, share the video, or subscribe to my channel for the timely videos. Thank you very much.